What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcasts. Live your best life. You must live label free. Just a quick disclaimer, we do have a macaw in the background, so if you hear him squawking, he just wants to be part of the show. But today we're back with another incredible guest. My next guest is Professor of Applied Ethics and Chair of the Department of Engineering and Society in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences at the University of Virginia. She's also an author of many books and now a podcaster. Please welcome Rosalyn W. Berne, Ph.D. Rosalyn, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Good to be here.
Good to have you here. You've got quite the repertoire or resume, whatever you want to say. um, so tell us a little bit about being a professor of applied ethics and being on the chair. What is that like, and why be doing such an influential, like you're an influencer as a professor, right? Like help like teaching young
Oh,
minds, but also an author now.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm in an engineering school, right? So our students are going to go out and they're going to design systems, they're going to build infrastructure,
Yeah.
they're going to solve problems through technology. And I'm not an engineer. I come from religious studies, ethics, right?
Yeah.
Sort of that's my background. So what I'm doing there is I'm helping them to think about first of all, their responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
Like when you do things that engineers do, you have huge impact on people's lives.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
we talk about that. We talk about sort of the obligations they have, ethical obligations, like how to do the best they know how to with minimizing harm, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So chairing a department just means I've got 18 faculty members who are all teaching in my department, and I have to worry about, the budget and
Yeah.
personal issues and all that stuff. That's just a
Yeah.
management job.
Yeah.
But the inspiration is knowing that these young people are actually going to be in the world changing it. Like
Yeah,
from
for sure.
that's what they do, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's biomedical engineering or chemical engineering or systems or mechanical, aerospace, they're going to
Wow.
join teams and companies where they change things, right? Especially my
Yeah.
computer scientists, right?
Oh my
So
gosh. Can't even
yeah,
imagine. Like just technology changes so
so fast.
rapidly. And like in today's world, it's just changing. It feels like it's just going so fast. And
Really.
it's really hard for I feel like companies and people in general to keep up. And it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see where things plateau and where companies will be with technology at that time. It's gonna be, yeah, it's pretty
If we do
radical.
plateau, I don't know. Right now, I can't see the plateau.
Right. Yeah. That's a scary thought. I mean, you gotta, I see, I personally have always embraced it. So I think that I'm pretty savvy technically. So like, I love it and I love where we're going. But a lot of people I think are having a hard time wrapping their heads around it and embracing it. So let's
You're
talk
probably more
about some,
savvy than me. Yeah,
pardon,
you're more savvy than me. I can promise you that. I'm really concerned about some things. So
like what? Do you mind sharing?
we're moving really, really fast.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I worked on, first book I did was it's an academic book. I'm not suggesting you promote it. Um, was about nanotechnology.
Yeah. I see that
And
here. Yeah.
yeah, so that the thing about nano is that came out really fast before we had any policies to regulate it, before we knew
Yeah.
what it was doing to the environment, before we realized that nano products are crossing the blood-brain barrier. So I feel like we move really, really fast because of the market possibilities,
Yeah.
right? The market competition. So when I say I worry, it's mostly because we tend not to, we're so market driven, we tend not to slow down to be
Yeah.
sure. That's all.
Well, I think we've seen a lot of that in the last 5 years of
Uh-huh.
not really understanding what happens with things, and just releasing it and pushing it and just doing, just pushing
Yeah.
it. So, I mean, yeah, I find it fascinating, but let's kind of talk a little bit more about your books. How is it being like in ethics and writing stuff about like some of your books are fiction, aren't they?
Waiting in the Silence is fiction, and that I did not expect to do that. I never planned to do that. That's actually, I think, sort of an interesting story to share if you have a moment.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Please share because I,
okay.
I always find it fascinating when people like yourselves are able to tap into both sides of their brain because you're
Yeah.
very like logical and ethical, and then fiction is not. It's so the other side. You have to use your creativity and just yeah, please share.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So here's what's happening. I was going around the country to different cities, Chicago, New York, all over, interviewing scientists whose laboratories were working at the nanoscale, right? So I'm doing these interviews all day for this book I did on nanotalk, and I'm in New York City. It's like 4 years into this project. I finished a whole day. I went to NYU and Columbia and other places, and I'm asleep in the hotel. Like I'm sound asleep, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden I sat up and I was wide awake, and I thought,
Wow.
what's going on? What am I going to do? I don't want to watch TV, but I'm wide awake. So I pulled a pad of paper out of my bag and I just started writing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't fully conscious. I was just sort of half asleep, half awake. I wrote until the sun came up. It was
Wow.
dawn. Then
Holy
I
cow.
put it away, got back to my job, and months later I pulled it out of my bag. It was a short story. And I think, and that actually became the basis of the book, Waiting in the Silence. I
Yeah.
think what happened is because of all those interviews and going through those labs and thinking and talking with these scientists, something got in my subconscious and wanted to come out in a
Yeah.
different way,
Yeah.
right? So I loved that experience because it was like the characters were telling me what was going on, waking me up and telling me you got to know about this.
Yeah.
It was an incredible experience.
That is very cool that you could get so inspired like that and just start writing and writing and writing and writing. It's like something took over your body. And
It felt like
that is so cool. And how did that book do?
Well, okay for some. So the people who published it were just starting out as a publishing
Oh,
company.
okay.
They didn't make it as a
Yeah.
publishing company.
Oh, that's too bad.
So I sort of let it lie. I put it out there independently, but here's what happened. In the last few years, there's been a lot of conversation about AI and a lot
Yeah.
of conversation about women's reproductive rights and choices. That book is about both of them. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, so what I was thinking was, okay, I let that lie, but maybe it was too soon. Like
Yeah.
maybe now's the time.
Yeah.
So
Like republish it
that's
or like re something.
exactly.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I did. So it's back out there through Amazon Publishers,
Cool.
and it's in the form of that podcast. What I really hope is that the timing's right, so we can talk about these things. People
Yeah.
can be sharing their ideas and responses and reactions to it. Now it is post-apocalyptic, so it's a little scary, but
Yeah. So that's
science
the
fiction,
what's the name of that one? Creating life
waiting in
from
the
life.
silence. That's
Oh,
waiting in the silence.
waiting in the silence. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I love this that you're doing like a podcast series they're calling it or what? I mean, how do you
Uh,
consider it?
audio drama.
Okay,
So
okay,
what I did was I took the book, I reread it, and I thought, okay, how do we condense this? How do we like get the juicy stuff
yeah,
out and turn it into a podcast? So I wrote a script, and found some amazing actors and got them in the studio,
very
and
cool.
we did it, and it turned into 7 episodes around 25, 30 minutes each.
Wow,
Um, and I feel pretty excited about it. I was very inspired while it was going on. And so now I realize I've got to get the sequel because it's a cliffhanger. I got to get the sequel done and get that out there. So
wow, very
it just
cool.
feels, yeah, it has its own momentum now. It just
Yeah,
feels like something that wants to happen.
yeah.
So
So now you're not only so now you're in the podcasting space. You are an
is that what it
author.
is?
Now you're like a producer too. You're producing and like you're casting, right? You're casting actors. Like what? How cool is that?
Okay, let me tell you what happened. All right, the
Okay.
backstory for this. The backstory is I found out about a company where you pitch to them, and if they think your stuff can become a movie, they
Yeah.
work with you. Like they're
Oh,
in the industry, they're in LA, they work
yeah.
with you. So I pitched it. They go, this can be a movie. Absolutely. Here's the other side of it.
Yeah.
You pay for what it will cost. So they said, you pay for a script, we'll have the
Sure.
script written. And we really think in your case, a podcast would be phenomenal and we could sell it more easily.
Yeah, for sure.
35,000, right? So I
Woo!
thought, I don't think so.
Yeah, for sure. That's a lot. Oh my
I
gosh.
think, yeah, I loved the idea of the podcast, but that's not my world. So I thought, well, what if I do it myself?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, and then I got some help from, this company in California, but I brought in most of the actors, and it just became like a collaboration, and I'm really happy.
That is very cool.
Yeah,
Um, so you wrote it in 2021 and
yeah.
you
I wrote it in 2012.
oh 2012. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
2012. I'm sorry. I read that
yeah.
wrong.
That's okay.
Transpose the numbers.
That
Um,
happened.
and so what inspired you to write the book back then, the
That was
original?
that talking to those
Oh, that was a
scientists.
scientist. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And so now,
learning about nanotechnology, thinking about the future. What does this mean that we can manipulate matter this way and
hmm,
control matter this way? And that's what I think
fascinating.
stirred it in me.
Yeah. And where does the like woman reproduction part come into
In the
play?
book,
Yeah, because I like that's a very those are two interesting, very different things to kind of
very.
combine. But
So
I
the
almost kind of can I haven't read the book and I would love to listen to the podcast, but I can almost like see where there would be some kind of synergy there.
Yeah, yeah. So in this world that I created, that emerged from me, it's after the Great Storm, so climate change has wreaked havoc, and this it's set on the Nantucket Island, like out in Massachusetts, right? And
Okay.
this AI became conscious. It emerged, and it was very interested in um, fertility and controlling how people sort of perfecting the human being.
Wow.
So
Fascinating.
in this world, women's eggs are extracted and they become, and she doesn't have rights to them anymore.
Oh no.
And right, and she's mated with the ideal genetic mate for perfecting the human being. And so that's where that comes in. Um, the main character ends up running and hiding and gets in big trouble with the law because she doesn't want the machine to take over her pregnancy, all that. So that's where that comes in.
Wow. Yeah, I think you wrote it way like early. Now, like that's very, very kind of like almost feasible in today's world,
We're really close.
which is a very scary thought.
Yeah. I never
Like
would have
it almost
imagined
gives
that.
me like Matrix vibes a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like putting him in the pod and growing him in the pod and being hooked up, but
Well, that's part of what was going on is I was learning about those things back then. So I
oh,
knew about exouterus. I knew about the research on that. There was a Canadian research firm thinking
wow,
about how to grow embryos outside the woman's body. I was reading about all this stuff back then. And I
wow.
think it was going into my subconscious, right?
Yeah,
And so those are experimental, and I think, why do we want to do that? That's the
yeah,
ethics person in me. Why would we want to do that, right? So, and then the whole question of, control of that part of one's body, and wanting. So in this world that I created, the machine actually penetrates the uterus and works with the fetus to perfect it. And any imperfections are considered criminal because they don't have to happen. So this main character ends up a criminal because
wow.
she doesn't want her pregnancy to be tampered with by
Yeah,
the AI, the genetic engineering, or these machines that can take nanoscaled like probes and go into the uterus
that
during the
does raise
pregnancy.
a lot of like ethical questions,
Oh, yeah, huge. And
of
that's
like if that's the direction that we're heading, if that's possible, which you're saying that we're very close. I mean, that raises a lot of concern.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And we do right now we go in for good reasons. You can do surgery
yeah,
on an embryo's a fetus's heart, right? While they're
yeah,
still there. You can, and we do that to do the right thing. The question is like, where are the boundaries for us? Right?
yeah.
And yeah, that's always so this book just pushes all the boundaries over and then
I'm
asks, oh,
Wow. So very cool. And you said it was a cliffhanger. So how many episodes is there for this first
Kevin.
seven? That's it? How long are
Yeah,
they?
I'm sorry. And it needs, I mean, I can feel it. I got to get going and get the rest done, but I'm still writing the sequel, the novel itself, which I want to finish before I write the script.
Yeah.
People are going to have to hang on and be patient with me.
So I think this has potential to actually, I mean, I know you talked to someone about making it a movie, but this has potential for it to be picked up as a movie, like a sci-fi movie.
Well, the company that I was working with that wanted to do it for me was going to use the podcast to pitch it to the
Oh,
industry.
okay. Yeah.
So, who knows? Maybe the podcast will do well enough that they'll say, wait, great, we'll use that. We'll pitch it. Who
Yeah.
knows? One
I
step
could
at a
totally see it
time.
on like Netflix or something.
I mean, when I was writing it, back then, okay, when I was writing it back then, Halle Berry was the main character, was the
Cool.
woman. But now all these young people can't do it anymore. She's not young enough yet. She's beautiful still, but
Still
I was
beautiful, yeah.
imagining, I could see the characters, I could hear the music, I could hear the soundtrack. One of my favorite musicians is Lorena McKennitt. She's Canadian and she does this incredible sort of Irishy kind of ballady music.
Yeah.
Went to a concert of hers in Philly and took a note up and said to her promoter, ask her if she would be willing to do the music for a film because I can hear her music
Yeah.
in the film. It's so haunting and beautiful. So my imagination is off and running. Whatever is meant to be.
I love it. You've got a lot of creativity there. That's amazing.
We'll see how
So
it goes.
when do you think you're going to, so the podcast is live now?
It is. You can get it is, but we're going to take it down and put it right back up.
Oh,
So
okay.
soon, really soon.
Okay,
Yeah.
very
It'll
cool.
be it'll be fun. You could and it'll be a YouTube really soon. I would say within a week.
A
The YouTube.
YouTube with just the audio, or you're gonna have like videos?
You know what's interesting? The company that's helping with that
Yeah.
asked about video. Here's what I said. I don't want it because there's one thumbnail image because I want people's imaginations to
Yeah.
create a world. And I think that there are times when video is powerful, but
Yeah.
this is like an old-fashioned radio show where you
Yeah.
sit by it and then you listen and it's like the world comes to your own creativity.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. It's awesome. Um, it's a million questions. I get so we're getting kind of tight on time here, so I'm gonna keep it short. Who's your ideal avatar? Obviously, a sci-fi person like myself. I would love it because I love that kind of stuff. But who else? Who else would really enjoy listening to this series?
I mean, I think it's mostly going to be women, but not entirely. It
Oh,
just depends
okay.
on the guy.
Yeah.
Um, because actually, I when it was just the book in 2012, I had my students read it, and I had 350 students. It was a
Wow.
big mistake because the guys hated it.
Really?
In fact, one went back 12 years later and put on Amazon, still the worst book ever. And I thought, boy, that really touched a
Rude.
nerve. 12 years later, just in November, I thought, boy, I really touched a nerve, didn't I, for you to go
Yeah.
back all these years and do that again as a review. So something stirred the pot,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I think probably primarily women, but a wide age range.
Yeah.
Not the book. The book is an adult book. There's a whole chapter where there's sex with a robot, and I don't want young people to read that. That
Interesting.
it's an
Okay.
adult book,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
For sure.
podcast, anybody.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, Rosalind, where can people learn more about your books, you, and listen to the podcast?
Okay, so I'm easy to find. It's Rosalyn Berne author,
Okay.
ROSALYNBERNE author.com.
Okay.
That's my website.
Perfect.
Um, and then the podcast will be on all those listening platforms, Apple and Spotify and all that. As I say, they're up there now, but we're going to take them down and put them back
Cool.
soon, so that they can go out on a different server and touch all of them. And then there'll
Yeah.
be a YouTube page, which will have
Okay.
my name on it, with
Okay.
this series on it soon.
Waiting in the silence.
Waiting in the Silence, the audio drama.
I love it. You guys, I'm gonna put the links to her website to the podcast if it's still out there. If not, I will put the cover art on the screen here if you're watching. If you are listening, go click the links in the show notes and go check out Rosalind's body of work, all her books, and especially Waiting in the Silence. I think it's very relevant in today's world and just a very it's sci-fi, but something that is probably more attainable than a lot of you will think. Rosalind, I always like to ask at the end of the show any last words of wisdom or advice you'd like to leave with us today?
Yeah. Um, put the devices aside occasionally and go outside.
Mm, yeah, amen to that. I have been more conscious. I like that advice because I've been more conscious of that. Because when I like sometimes if you just stand there and look around or at like people around you, everybody is just in their phone. So at moments like that, I like to put my phone away and just kind of watch. And it's just very interesting to feel how disconnected we are.
Can I tell you the reason I said that in the book? the phone is now embedded in the palm of the hand.
Oh, wow. I can
That's
see
part of
that.
that world. Yep.
I can
Yep.
see that.
There
Oh
we
my
go.
God, I can see that.
There we go. It's part of the body.
Rosalyn,
Take
you,
care.
oh, you are amazing. Thank you so much for being incredible guest. And I love your book and your show. I cannot wait to tune in. And I'm sure the audience can't wait to tune in either. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing with us, and can't wait
Thank
for
you.
part two to hear about part two. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu, Label Free Podcasts. Live your best life. You must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.